You're listening to The Rich Life Revolution with me, Michelle Cooper. My mission is to empower you to step into your next level of wealthy. You'll hear all the deets, a little bit of inspiration, and real life takeaways so that you can create your own rich life revolution. Let's dig in. Welcome to the Rich Life Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Michelle, and today's guest, Hoang Huy Dinh, was once a lab student with dreams of curing HIV. What an incredible mission in this world. However, things took a little sideways turn, as they do in many of our lives, and he had a little bit of a breakdown of his mind and body that left him basically housebound with fear and anxiety, so much so that he couldn't leave his home. However, he emerged stronger after 14 years of venturing into self-discovery, self-awareness, competing in martial arts, and facing his fear of death through parkour. He created the Zen Power Method, and now he helps others achieve calm, centered, relaxed states in just 10 minutes. And he shares this technique that has helped him bring himself back from what he feels was insanity. This episode was phenomenal to record, and I am so excited to bring it to you. So let's dive in. Hey, Hoang, it's so good to see you. I love you. Like, you are one of my favorite people ever. And so I am so grateful that you decided to come on the Rich Life Revolution podcast. Yeah. Awesome. So I want you, because of course I've done a little intro here for you, but I really want you to brag about yourself because you have incredible achievements. You are a master Zen, master martial artist. Like, you're all the things. You're my own personal Bruce Lee mentor. And so I want you to brag about yourself for a little bit.
Wow. Well, I wouldn't call myself master because there's that humility in the martial artist thing, right? And
Right.
yeah.
But look at those medals behind you, right? Like, gotta say.
Well, I would say, the reason how I get those medals is because the people that were better than me, they were not there. That's the reason. Yeah.
That's an interesting take on that.
Right. Yeah. So,
awesome.
How should I start? Maybe through the guidance of.
Dive in. Tell us about you. Where do you live? What do you do? Like, what does your life look like?
All right. Right now, I'm living in the Netherlands, and I'm a martial artist, and I'm also a coach. And I have competed in national and international championship with wushu and tai chi. And for anyone that do not know what wushu is, they kind of like Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan and Jet Li. Yeah, that is what wushu is. That whole
So it's not like, what do they call it? Like, I don't know, mixed martial arts kind of thing. It's more like the traditional kind of Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan kind of martial arts.
Yeah. Very, very traditional. Yeah. So I practice the other disciplines as well, like Kempo, Karate, or, what's the other one? Taekwondo as well. And I like this the most because it's literally training our discipline, our focus, our mind, our body is aligned. The embodiment right now we talk about embodiment, like become oneness, but this is a very practical way to become that. And, when we enter the flow, right, it just comes out right now. When we enter
Right.
the flow, we become one. And when we see Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, right, or Jet Li, you see them move at one, and they become one after they have oneness inside of them. They become one with the weapons, their environment. So that is how oneness actually is achieved in my experiences. Yeah,
Oh, that's so interesting. I love that. Yeah. Because
yeah,
I think, oneness is a concept that I think I have chased, right? And that embodiment is something that, like you talked about being in flow, like a lot of people talk about flow state and stuff, and it's not easy to get there. Right. Like it's not it for me, at least. I only speak for myself. Like the everything has to be right. The planets have to align for me to drop into flow state.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's interesting as well, like you talk about being in flow and the embodiment. I think a lot of times, like, you can see that in sport, right? Like in the physical movement of your body. I know, like, I spent years playing roller derby, and there's times on the track where it's just all flowing. Like you're not thinking about anything. I can remember times where, like, I could feel my team members, even though I wasn't touching them, but I knew where they were, right?
Yeah,
And that moment is magic. Like, it's just so magical. And so I can imagine it, in a martial arts competition, like that moment is just like gold for you.
yeah, yeah. That moment of flow state, right? We all getting pulling away in our daily life, right? Either by these voices or the things we have to do, calendar, or this person or the project that we're starting. Or, there are so many things, and to have the ability to tap into that flow state, and to like in the mat, we really have to like get there like immediately, and then start like yeah, it's I forgot the name, but with the point, uh, jury, yeah, and you literally become, wow, how do I say this? Yeah, I'm kind of lost for word right now. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think, it's that I think sometimes there's a state of being that we can't describe with words, right? Um, and I think that's what you're kind of alluding to there, right?
mhm.
So obviously, like I talk about, you have created the Zen Power Method, and you help others achieve calm, centered, relaxed states in a very short amount of time, which, like, hands up to you, because I have found that regulating my nervous system and moving into that relaxed energy is so beneficial. And it's one of the things I focus on the most. Um, but tell me a little bit about your life, like where you were at before you kind of discovered this about yourself. Like, what was going on in your life that was different from that?
Wow. It was very interesting. Um, where should I start? Should I start from when I was in Vietnam, when I was based there? Or should I start it?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
wow, that's been a long time ago. So practically, I was born and raised in the hood, where where criminals are everywhere, all type of criminals, human trafficking, drugs handling, prostitutions, robbery, all kind of, and I think even murder. Um, I do know that they chased me, with stick and knife, and to my house, trying to take my life. Gangster member.
Wow.
And that's where I grew up in, and and I was kind of weird kid because I call myself a hippie, and in the sense that I love hugging trees and I love like animals. I remember there was a chicken that died, right, and I hold it in my hand and it started crying like. I mean, like I was a kid back then, right? And and everybody else around, like it was very weird for them because like such a person that's loving animal, and so they're pointing toward me and they laughing. Everybody was laughing. Oh, what is that weird thing? Why is he? And that's kind of how I start my journey. Like in the hood, and why being a hippie, so I don't really feel belong. Um, and
So
yeah,
really a feeling of being an outcast.
I've been outcast for quite a very long time in my life. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, and so dealing with stress, anxiety, right, and through the hood, and then after that, I think I escaped. I escaped the orphanage, and yeah, many other things happened, and somewhere along the line, right. Somewhere we kind of taking over the energy of our surrounding as when we are a kid, and I believe it was a monster. I don't deserve to live, and I was poisoned to the world. And but still, I want to cure HIV, which is the whole reason why I go to Netherlands in the first place, pursuing
Oh,
yeah, 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 pursuing totally different direction than where I am right now.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, and as I journey through the study of curing HIV, which is laboratoria in Netherlands, I get to end up in Netherlands, and when I remember after the first year, uh, after the first year they tell me I'm not allowed to ask questions, so I get into depression, and that is where I pushed through, and I was able to get a degree. But then after getting the degree, my mind and body broke down. Yeah, it is where the things happen, the turning point.
Oh,
When my mind and body broke down, normally when we read something, then we have the capability to kind of recognize what we read or remember at least, right? If we pay attention. And I couldn't remember anything I read anymore, and my body started having shock inside of like sometimes like that.
oh, yeah.
All the tension. So it destroyed my mind and body, and I couldn't even leave the house. Couldn't get out of the house because of tensions and the fear and those things. Yes, that is the opposite of the flow. The opposite
Right?
of,
The complete opposite.
Yeah. And that is when I decided I have to do something. So that is when I went into the I call it 14 years discovery journey. And throughout the journey, many things happen, and that's how I.
Is that when you got into martial arts?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Kind of martial arts, and many other things. Parkour as well has to do with flow.
Oh.
Yeah, learning to talk with people and all kind of things. Yeah.
Oh, so interesting. Wow. So, there was this, I can clearly see, right? Like, there's a lot of stress in your early years, right? And, kids adapt, right? Like they always say kids are adaptable and they're resilient, right? But I think when you grow up in an environment like that, there's maybe this like setting point in your nervous system that is not ideal, right? It's like you're always living in survival kind of thing.
Yeah, PTSD,
right?
HDHD, whatever we call it, I got it.
Yeah, totally.
Something like
Totally.
that.
And, you briefly mentioned there, like, so did you grow up in an orphanage?
No, I did not grow up in an orphanage, but my mom put me there, like for whatever reason. I have no idea why.
Right.
And when I was in there, well, yeah. So that's a different story again. But
right. Yeah. Well, even that's stressful, right? Like you don't even know the reason. You just end up there, right? As a kid. Like, So then, like you have this dream, like to cure HIV. That's amazing. A lot of people would think like that's a life calling.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that everything happens exactly as it should for our greatest prosperity, our greatest growth, our greatest evolution. So there was some reason for you to go through this, sounds like quite painful experience, right? And perhaps, it has given you a gift. For sure, having the level of stress and anxiety where you can't leave the house is significant, right?
It was significant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned martial arts was one thing that you did. Was there anything else that was like a significant contribution to you kind of moving out of that situation?
I believe all of them play their part in one way or another. I mean, when I grew up, there was so much shame, fear, and guilt because I was raised Roman Catholic, and which is why I believe I was you know, yeah. And so I was too scared to even approach, for example, a woman, right? And
Right.
to tell a woman that I like you, so let's grab something to drink. And so yeah, many things happen. So I dating coach, right? Parkour
Yeah.
dating coach. Yeah, I nearly died many times with parkour too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, parkour, that's intense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like I have a friend whose son does that. And yeah, like it's intense. Like I don't even know another word to say it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you are doing things that are sometimes life-threatening.
They are life-threatening. For me, that's
Yeah,
how I felt.
totally,
That's how
right?
I felt. Yeah.
That's no joke, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about your life now, like the work that you're doing with people and this concept, this methodology that you've created to create this Zen state for people.
So generally, I believe the world is based on acceleration and deceleration. That's normal physics, right? And the further we are from the balance, right? The more disbalanced we're gonna be, because there's that state, the state of oneness, the state of strong. Like in martial arts, when we stand, the footwork is the most important thing. Grounding is the most important thing, right? Or
Right.
is balancing yourself. So the same thing applying for everything else. When you feel center, right, inside of you, so everything else is you're gonna be able to flow through it. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. So so to help people tapping back into that, right? Most of the time it's stress and anxiety, right? And it is when we become so tense, our energy gets stuck into our muscle, right? And getting ready to do certain things. When we're able to release it like immediately, or you notice the thing in our muscle, in our heartbeat, in our breath, right? We can then release it. And it could be as simple as taking a deep breath, right? Or just releasing and really just allow that state. When you're on the acceleration part, you can allow yourself to decelerate. And when you're in depression, hopelessness, or despair, which that was my first, you can accelerate, which is you can do other things. You can shake yourself up, right? You can take a deep breather, or you can, take a different posture and so on. Like a Superman posture, like a smile, right?
Totally.
So different technique and different things. So the point is to bring us back to that balance place, and from the place of balance, we can pretty much taking on everything.
That's so good. Yeah, that inner balance, right? I think that is something that I think we just kind of forget about in the day-to-day, things that we do in our life. And, you've got, like you said, like you've got all these boxes to tick, things, tasks to do, and you can forget to breathe almost.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was telling you before we hit record, like I had recently had surgery, and in the recovery room, the nurse kept saying to me, "Breathe deeply, Michelle."
Mhm.
Right? Like, I want you to breathe deeply, because it was very shallow breathing. Right. And I was, you're waking up from anesthesia and you're uncomfortable and you don't know what's going on and stuff. And so a little bit of anxiety comes along. Right.
Mhm.
And I found like, oh, I had to, like, in those first 2 weeks post surgery, I had to really remind myself to breathe deeply and calmly,
Mhm.
right? Instead of these little shallow breaths. And then I noticed that my energy would change.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Right.
Yeah, and oh my God, when you were sharing, um, um, you remind me of something that I forgot to share. As we in this life, the only way for us to really exist is to stay in that frequency, right? Too much, right? We explode, and too little, we cease to exist. And our heartbeat is the same. When we're beating too hard, again, our heart explodes. Too
Right.
little, it's stop. And the same principle is for everything else as well in our life. Too much of something, then we become disbalanced, and too little. So it's applied the universal principle together with the natural, as in the Taoism. I'm not sure if you know about that.
A
The
little
Tao,
bit,
all
not a
right,
lot, but
right,
a little bit.
right. Yeah, the yin yang sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And our heart tells us a lot for us, and we see it back on everything else as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know a little bit about Taoism. I have my first boyfriend was a Bruce Lee fanatic. Okay. And so I got to watch all the Bruce Lee movies and learn all about Bruce Lee. And even I remember once he caught a fly with his chopsticks. And that was like the most incredible thing ever. And he's probably going to listen to this and laugh, but, because we're still friends now, but, that I remember first like learning about the kind of yin yang kind of equilibrium kind of concept, right? And I think all of us can see that when things get out of balance, they it's just not a great way to experience life. Either way, like too much of anything is too much, right? You can absolutely have too much of a good thing kind of thing, right? Like if you love chocolate, but all you're going to eat is chocolate every day, you're soon going to get sick of chocolate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? Even though
Yeah.
it's awesome, you'll still it's just too much, right?
Yeah.
And then the same thing with, too little, right? If you don't, you deprive yourself from chocolate, let's say, we'll keep with that example, then you're going to crave chocolate, right?
Yeah.
So, I love that you talk about that. That's amazing. So, I would love, how do people contact you? Like they're interested in this concept, this, this kind of like, how do I get to Zen in 10 minutes? Like how do I find out about the Zen Power Method? And how do I achieve that calm, centered, relaxed state in just 10 minutes? How do they find you?
Oh, they can find me on Facebook, and they can also book a call to explore more about the Zen Power Method. And
Okay.
it's completely free. And just to share my gift with the world, because I know how it feels like to be out there back then, and I would never want anyone else to. You need to stay there and explore it for over 14 years, like I do. Spend lots of time.
Yeah, totally. I think you need to do like a book or something called 14 Years to Zen or something like that. Like,
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You should totally do that. Tell your story, put your methodology in there. Like that would be an incredible gift to the world. I'd buy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Hmm.
You should do that.
Yeah. First
Yeah.
order.
Right? Got your first
Yeah.
order. I'm a pre-order. I'm
Yeah.
pre-order. Like put my name down.
Yeah. And
I love that. Oh my
yeah.
God. So thank you so much for sharing this. I just love I love sharing people's journey and their stories and seeing that, you know, if there's somebody that's listening that is in a place that doesn't feel great, right? It doesn't feel like what they truly desire to feel in their life, that there's people out there that can help them, for one, right? But there's also people that have been there, right? And maybe they're one step or maybe they're 10 steps ahead of that person, and that's okay, right? But we're all on this journey called, I don't know, life, being a human. I don't know. And my goodness, if I can achieve oneness for just a short amount of time every day, that's going to be my goal. Like that's my big takeaway from this is once a day.
Oh, that's perfect. Why don't you book a call? And
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
you find
I'm going to
out.
do that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I just love you and I'm just so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you too for having me here, and thank you, everyone else that is spending the time to watch this or to listen to this, and know that everything that you everything is inside of you, and all you need to do is really first starting with your energy, right? Having that belief, having that faith to push through, and yeah, get there.
All starts with belief, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I feel like I've got so much Zen on right now. I just feel truly inspired. So my big gold takeaway, as I said in the podcast, is that I'm going to incorporate 10 minutes of Zen into my daily practice. I think I've gotten away from this a little bit and, have been diving right into life first thing in the morning. And I don't think that totally serves me. And so that's my big takeaway from this episode. It's my commitment to you all. And I'll give you a little update on that in upcoming episodes. I encourage you to reach out to Hoang and connect with him. His Zen Power Method is incredible, and he will provide you everything you need. Of course, he does work with clients, but he has such a giving heart. I know that he just wants to see you up-level your life. So have a great day. Thanks for listening. And do me a solid, share this episode, give it a review, a rating in your favorite podcast platform. I would greatly appreciate that. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you got at least one gold nugget today. Be sure to grab your copy of the Rich Life Revolution workbook to help you set the foundation for your next level of wealthy. Get it now at richliferevolution.ca, and I'll see you later.